Episode 94 of 5 Drinks or Midnight. In the show, we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks, so we try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we are talking all things Dickel with Nicole Austin. But before we do, like, subscribe, hit the bells, the whistles, do everything. Leave a comment if you like what we're doing. Let's get started. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. 5 Drinks or Midnight, 5 drinks, 5 questions, midnight, whatever comes first. How are you doing today?
So good. So glad to be with you.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Again, I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and it's so great for you to join. So thank you for doing this show. It's awesome.
Anything for you guys. No, I'm excited. It's the best part of my job, like to chat to people who actually enjoy and appreciate the whiskey. So
yes, and we do appreciate and enjoy here. So
I appreciate you, sir.
I guess the first question: what are we drinking first?
Dickel bourbon.
All right.
So this is. I'll be interested to hear what you think about it, but in some ways, I think it's kind of it's special because it's unexceptional. Like it's just, which I don't think a lot of people would admit about their own like whiskeys, but I think folks don't realize how hard it is actually to make just like a really consistent, balanced, like middle of the road. You know, it's easy to make weird flavors. It's actually kind of hard to just make something nice and consistently and well. So this is, I appreciate this one.
No, this is good. This is, again, we are that night that we met in Williamsburg. We were drinking this one, I think, pretty heavily. So this was,
it's just a great whiskey. For people who like whiskey, like you don't always want to be trying super hard and thinking super hard, and like sometimes you just want something you can just pour and enjoy, and like doesn't require a 45-minute story. Like I was like, oh, what's that about? Like it's bourbon.
It's just really good bourbon. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Oh, and it is really good bourbon. Like that.
Thank you.
It is just. Oh, it's so good. Oh, again, it's a good sipper. Like this is just.
But also, like you can, I don't know if one of your friends wants to put it in ginger ale, like that's also fine.
Yeah.
You know, like it's nice whiskey, but it's not. You don't have to like dust off the bottle and wait for a special day. You know.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it doesn't need to collect dust. This is just something that should be in your rotation. Yeah,
I was really hoping for like table whiskey, you know, like the kind of everyday, like, but for someone who cares about what they're drinking, you know.
Yeah. Like you're not a snob, you're not an elitist, but also you're not cheap and poor either. Like it's just like.
And like you want it to taste good still, you know?
Yeah, it's you're not drinking it with the alcohol burn and like it's just like it's like,
and like that's honestly really hard to do, you know? Like
all right, so question 1, it's an origin story question. We ask it always, but how'd you get started in the whiskey business?
So a great bartender changed my whole life, which is why places like Travel Bar are so important. I swear I'm not ginning you up. Like that really happened. So I was a chemical engineer is what I went to school for, and that's like I was working in the environmental engineering industry in New York, which like I thought was going to be very cool, save the planet. Like actual fact, what an environmental engineer does is mostly work in wastewater treatment plants.
Yep.
So like much less sexy than I had anticipated. I was like, ooh, shit, this is not what I want to do with my life, and I was like young and I didn't know anything, and I was like being poured a flight of whiskeys by just a really knowledgeable and like passionate bartender who was telling me about them and told me about how they were distilled, and I just had that light bulb moment, of like, oh my, like I literally went to school to learn how to distill things. It did not occur to me that I could use that skill to, like, instead of making like jet fuel, I could use that skill to make whiskey, like no one said anything, like, oh my God, this is obviously what I want to do with my life, like how cool, to be able to make something like beautiful and like culturally important and like really, find some artistic expression for someone who always wanted to have some artistic expression, but was only ever good at math. And I was like, I had no talent otherwise. So I was really excited, really into it. I was like, I'm going to go be a distiller. Turns out that the industry is pretty closed off then, like this is like mid 2000s. So it was very, there were not that many distilleries, and they were all run by like the grandson of the grandson of the grandson of somebody, it was like that. So took a few years kind of for craft spirits and for laws to start to change to allow sort of the industry to open up a little bit. And that's how, so I started with Kings County Distillery in Brooklyn. So I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and they were the first distillery to be licensed in New York post-prohibition. So I showed up literally the first day that they legally sold spirits in the city ever. And I showed up and I was like, with my resume to their like whiskey tasting, I was like, I will work for you now. And they're like, okay, crazy lady, like we don't have any money, we're not going to pay you. And I was like, that seems fine. But like, sure. So that's how I got into the industry.
That's awesome. We love Colin. Colin did the show, so like that. It's Kings County is one of our favorites. But
yeah, so that was August of 2010, and I was their master blender, which was kind of a funny title considering that like when we gave me that title, we had like 2 barrels, But it was like, I shall be responsible for these, like, and I was there from 2010 to 2016, actually.
Okay. So then how'd you end up in Tennessee then?
You will be shocked to learn that not getting paid does not help you pay your Brooklyn rent.
Yeah, that's
familiar.
Yeah.
So I kept my day job for a while at Kings County. And then the way I was able to become a full-time distiller was I was actually hired by Dave Pickerel, who was, the Johnny Appleseed of craft spirits, and who consulted with a million brands all over the country. And I was his first hire, which was a huge honor.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, it was a huge deal. I mean, so I kind of was still working in Kings County, but also working with him, which helped me, pay my bills and also really learn to be like a professional distiller. So that was a real masterclass in like, and also in craft spirits, as a concept and what that meant to be an artisan and an engineer and a whiskey maker. So he taught me a lot. And then, Kings County grew. So I was there more, and also doing some consulting on my own. And then through that, I got offered in 2018. No, 2018. No, 2016. In 2016, I moved to Ireland. So what is time? Like, how would that possibly that long ago? In 2016, I moved to Ireland. I was offered the role of commissioning engineer for Tullamore Dew. Nice. So I moved to Ireland to basically commissioning engineers are responsible for like turning it on and making sure from an operations perspective that like the design engineers are like paying attention to what you need to actually like run it. So that was my job, and then to hire and train the operators. So I was there from 2016 to 2018, and then I got the call. They called and recruited me when I was over there. And I probably should say a lot, like how excited I was about Dickel, that I moved from Ireland to Middle Tennessee. But this is a very special distillery that absolutely was worth it.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, Brian Nation moved from Ireland to Minnesota. So like, I mean, at least you picked a warm spot. So you're
truly. Yeah, that must have been a shock.
Yeah.
No, Ireland is incredible. Like, yeah. I love whiskey and horses, and like I could walk to both of them from my house. So it was tough to leave, but I'm glad I did.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you've done craft, and then you've done Irish, and now with like Tennessee, like,
yeah,
like off of that, like, is there I mean, yes, there's a huge difference, but like, do you have like a favorite style of distilling, or is there something along those route? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, would you make an Irish style Dickel, if you will? I mean, I don't know, like just throwing weird ideas out there, but like,
I love weird ideas. I love weird ideas. I think I don't, I don't have a particular reverence for one particular style. Like I think, like all of us, I think actually in whiskey making, like I also love, I don't know, wine, fortified wines and beers, and like, I love all the things. But I think my heart and soul is in American
gotcha.
whiskey. But also, because I think because I am who I am, it's in challenging a little bit the notion of what American whiskey is, like with love,
Mhm.
of great respect for our heritage, but I think challenging the idea that what we've seen and been drinking in the last 20 or 30 years is like the totality of what we're capable of. And I don't think that's true. So I guess pushing that forward, I'd say is what I want to do. So would I make an Irish style? Probably not. But would I be, have I taken inspiration from their approach and like, that understanding to think about like, well, what could we do here that makes sense? And that, I mean, if you want to talk about the heritage of American whiskey, right? Like taking inspiration from global
Yep.
styles is part of the heritage of American whiskey. So I would never try and copy what someone else is doing, but like, I think breaking us out of like the American whiskey industry it was incredible and rich and diverse, and there's so much going on, in our heyday. And I think all craft distillers have a little bit of a soft spot for that idea because like that's when there was room for us to exist, like so all of us kind of want that back, maybe not as a perfect mirror image of how it existed in like 1890, because I think chasing the past is sort of silly, but being inspired by it is exciting.
I think that again, I always joke that I wish high school would have told me more about chemistry class, because I would have paid more attention, that I could have been a distiller instead of going to art school. Because again, I was terrible at math and science, but done something that like I was interested in, like
Right?
I would probably like my whole
So
world would
many
be
people would
changing.
stick with it.
Yeah.
Like, I know.
So I think that's
I got lucky.
yeah. Like it's just, I just think it's, I wish I would have known. Like that would be, if I could go back in time and just be like, younger Tim, pay attention in chemistry because you can be a distiller. So, but no,
Truly.
we went to art school. It's fine. But well,
I would have if I had had any talent at all, but I didn't. So,
well, art's subjective. Some people don't think I have talent either, so it's still fine. But that's question one. So the band-aid's ripped off. We're drinking some good stuff, and the train's leaving the station. So
let's do it.
On to question two, drink two.
Okay.
What are we drinking?
Can we go out of order?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then I want to go next to the Bottled and Bond.
Oh, perfect. Like I said, you bring the drinks, I bring the questions. So you can drink in any order you want. So
I think it makes sense to go from the bourbon to the Bottled and Bond, because the bottle, it's obviously you're stepping up in proof, you're going up to 100 proof, you're going up in age statement. This is a 13-year-old, so this is the 2008. The Bottled and Bond, always a special place in my heart, because that's the one that I think started to change people's minds about Dickel. You're going to put this on YouTube, you're going to get at least like 30 bourbon bros being like, oh, Dickel sucks. Yeah. Like, people are mean on the internet. Yeah. And I think, newsflash, right? Like, it's fine. But Bottled and Bond is the one I think started to change, like, at least the people who were open to having their minds changed. Like, oh, maybe it's not what I thought. Maybe they're capable of doing more than I thought. Like, obviously I never in a million years imagined we would win Whiskey of the Year. That was like incredible. Yeah, but blew my mind. We weren't even going to go to Whiskey Fest. Like I wasn't even like, we didn't have the budget for that. They had to call and be like, maybe you should get a table. So this one will always have a really an important place in my heart, because I think that was the beginning of people starting to reconsider what we're about. And also Diageo trusting me that like, and to let me do some of this stuff, you know, to let me push the boat out a little bit and like take these big leaps. So none of that would have happened without the original Bottled and Bond. And then I think to keep coming, you know, if you have enough barrels, I think you could always skim a few off and do something really exceptional.
Yep.
But like to keep you know, every 93, 95, 96, 94, you know, like to keep coming with the hits is,
Yeah,
I think
no.
it's a real testament to the capabilities of this distillery.
Yeah, and like you said, the consistency to be in those high numbers is absolutely amazing. And this is, again, one of my favorites. Like this is.
Thank you. This one's a real whiskey drinker's whiskey, I think.
I mean, I just love the smell of it. Like it's just, I get that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing.
Oh, but the pollen is going bonkers in Tennessee right now. So I'm smelling this and I'm like, did I do something? Oh no, that's just because I can't breathe.
Same, because here we have tree pollen is crazy in Brooklyn right now. So like,
same.
And so like, but I was like, I'm getting peanuts this time. Like it's just all of a sudden I'm getting
definitely a big nutty character always in the bottom one. It's almost more pecan-y to me, but then also like that you know, kind of pear, like fruit character, which I really.
Yeah, now I'm craving like peanut butter and pears. Like that's
Yeah.
with a little chocolate.
And it's like a little peanut butter and apple and pear like bready sandwich with a little honey on it. You know, like that's what this whiskey is like. I think surprisingly alive for a 13-year-old 100 proof whiskey, you know, which really that is down to the meticulous blending.
Yeah. Not just because you're on the show. It literally is one of my favorites. Like it really.
I see it behind you. It warms my heart. It warms my heart so much.
That's no bullshit. Like that. When the PR company was like sending samples, I was like, I have some. Like, just tell me what she wants to drink, and then not gonna like. But
not gonna say no to some free whiskey though, right?
Absolutely. I'm not dumb. I'm gonna be really happy about like. You're gonna send me free whiskey. Yeah, okay, perfect. Twist my arm.
I'm proud of this one.
But
this one's a show off for me as a blender, kind of also, right? Like, which I think we don't talk about enough in American whiskey, but that's a whole other.
No, and we just had Miles Monroe on as well, and he is he's gone from distiller to blender, so like he wants to be called a blender now. So like off of that too, like. I think that
I know it's a funny journey because like we didn't. So that was my title at Kings County, but then, you know, like they're all kind of marketing titles, right? Like let's be real, like they don't really mean anything. So like I have responsibility in all the places, you know, how much we make and of what that we distill every year. So like yes, you're kind of a distiller from that way. And like what is good enough distillate? But then like they don't need me to run the still, you know, like I'm not here when they turn the boiler on at 4 a.m, you know, like at all. So maybe blender is a better, I don't know, you know, like it's maybe more appropriate in Scotland, and certainly in terms of like what I directly personally do, probably it's more the blending. And that's, I think, you know, he and I were chatting about that, right? It's like, but no one knows what a blender is in American whiskey. It's like, what do you call yourself? I don't know. So
well, look, I will tell you the same thing I told my, you make the nectar of the god, so therefore you are a god. So that's you know.
Well, you know, definitely those of us in whiskey are known for really having no ego at all. So it's important.
Yeah, no egos in the whiskey business.
No, certainly not. No. So thanks for bigging us up.
It's a tough job. Someone's got to make sure you guys feel good about yourself. Like, it's just... But all right. So question 2. We've already talked about whiskey of the year, but question is, I'm gonna read it just because I want to make sure I have all the dates and everything.
Yeah.
So what's your proudest moment? Whiskey Advocate naming Bottled and Bond Whiskey of the Year in 2019, or Distillery of the Year by Artist and Spirit Magazine in 2020, or Distillery Manager Award from Icons of Whiskey in 2021, or something else?
Proudest moment. It's gotta be, I think it's the Artisan Spirit, you know, because that's from your peers, you know, which always means so much. I think like when people who know you and recognize you that would know the difference, like that means a lot. And that, as incredibly deeply proud as I was of, I'm winning Bottled and Bond, and that becoming Whiskey of the Year, like changed everything. It was a huge moment, but there were also a lot that wasn't only mine,
Okay.
that was
Yeah.
like that whiskey was distilled way before I got here. There were like, there's so many people that contributed, John Lunn, and, was there when it was distilled, I mean, he obviously left an incredible legacy here, and I could not honor him. There were a lot of folks from the distillery contributed that to make that what it was. So, whereas the artisan spirit was, I guess, a little more of like personal recognition. So that, I think that was my personal proudest moment.
Awesome. And again, I think all three well deserved. So yeah, like you, I mean, this is amazing. And again, just I'm gonna keep saying it. It's just beautiful whiskey. So like we got 3 more to drink, and they're all gonna be beautiful whiskey. Yeah, like
it's one of the most fun, I think, to blend, because like that being forced to work inside of a 6-month window, it always makes a challenge, right? And so like that challenge is very mentally engaging. And then also the kind of the pressure, like with like the awards and the accolades, now like every release I feel like has to live up to that. And so I've gotten like more and more progressively paranoid about each one. It's like, God forbid one time we score below 90. So I'm like really paranoid about it. But it's a good challenge.
Yep. Well, that's awesome. I mean, and there you go. Question 2 answered. We got proudest moment, drinking Whiskey of the Year. So
yeah. I think I would go to the 17-year-old next.
Perfect.
So it's I would maybe suggest taking 2 sips, because it's actually, I think you'd be surprised, although we've gone up in age, I think it's surprisingly soft whiskey. And that's not only down to the proof, which I know obviously people are gonna be like, oh, it's lower proof, whatever. I think really for this one in particular, it was down to the blend. So on the palate, I think you'll find quite a bit of structure, but on the nose, it's a little softer. I was really, for this one, Dickel had a 17-year-old release before. So when Elisa was here, they released a Dickel 17-year-old, and people loved it. Like they called the distillery for years afterwards, like looking for these bottles. And, obviously I've changed a lot about Dickel since I got here. And I felt like I wanted to give something to the fans who have been Dickel fans for a long time. So I wanted to bring back the 17-year-old because I knew people knew it and love it. But, whiskey's that age, like to get to that age and still taste good they're not all like that. And so I was trying to watch some barrels and do a blend that would be, close enough. And like, if you liked the first one, you should like this one, but then still kind of put my, stamp on it and like make it, I think really, the wood is present, like especially it's kind of like a cedary to me kind of character. But then there's also, I think, a little more going on. It's not, oh, it's a 17-year-old American whiskey. It's not just about the wood. I think surprisingly kind of soft and complex and delicate for the age that it is.
It's really nice.
Like you get the wood on the palate, right?
Yep.
And like, especially on that front of your tongue, but it's also still kind of juicy. It's got a little cherry character to it.
Yep.
It's, I think there's like a nice kind of like evergreeny aromatics sort of happening. Really. And it's got that, like, for me, it's basement, but in a good way, that kind of leathery, musty,
like your grandpa's basement where like there was the carpet on the floor, but also a bar and like
and like leather and like leather goods and like leather, oiled saddle leather and all that kind of an old wood, but like in the not just wood, I think American whiskeys, when you push into this age, sometimes it can get like a little bit like chewing on a baseball bat. And I really worked hard to make sure this was not like that.
I'm sorry, did you say tuna on a baseball bat?
Yeah, true. Some of those old American whiskeys, man. We'll call them beaver whiskey.
All right.
You know, it's just chewing on wood.
All right. Oh, chewing on a baseball bat.
Yes.
I thought you said tuna on a baseball bat. And I was like,
Yeah, no, chewing.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I was like, I have not heard that. That is a new distillery term. So
Yeah, I think this one is, the wood is present, but in balance. I hope.
No, it's nice. Like this is, you do, yeah. I get the basement, and again, it just brings back a memory. Like it's just because my grandpa had the bar, and it was like old, like he had barrels that were chairs, and like it just is like all that. And there was the pool table, and it just down.
And you can sip on it. You could add a little bit of water. Yeah. And like it'll open up a little bit. Like there's some layers, there's some complexity in that. And this one's, it's cask strength, which obviously is a bit unique, but I think people will be surprised to see that the cask strength is 46. So, which is down to, our warehouses and our single story warehouses, and our barrels trend downwards over time.
Okay. So question 3, we usually call this the talking shit segment because we've had 3 drinks. So we're going to talk a little, but no, actually, question 3 is, what advice would you give somebody that's looking to get into a distillery or a blender role?
Best advice, it depends on which, kind of where you're coming out of, right? But the industry's changed a lot. I think, there's folks like me, we were really fortunate to come into the industry at a moment of big explosive growth, which created a ton of opportunity. I think we are still there. But you have to be patient. Like even it just, whiskey is an industry that takes a long time. Like that's just the nature of it. So, being a little bit patient, and, if you get into the industry, you're gonna mop a lot more floors than you maybe anticipated, to be able to like get to a place where you get to just work on the whiskey. So I think that's one kind of piece of advice I would give. Also, I think in whiskey, if I could talk to like my 27-year-old self, like when I was coming into the industry, to that version of myself, I don't think kids today are as egotistical as we were. So maybe they don't need that. But like, if I could talk to myself then, I'd say like, you don't know everything and nobody knows everything, right? Like the thing about whiskey is I thought I could like engineer my way to being the best. And whiskey's not like that. Like it's really hard to do good science on whiskey. Like there's really hard to construct control groups or like any kind of proper experimentation. It takes a really long time. So like even the things we think we know are really based a lot more on experience and intuition and observation than they are like really grounded in hard science, which it means that if anyone ever tells you some like true thing about like, oh, this thing makes whiskey spicy and all whiskeys that have this thing are spicy. Like that's never the case. It's just too complex. So I would say take that as like both comfort and intimidating, because it's both, it should be both, right? Like it is both comforting because it doesn't meet like you have an opportunity, I think, to like come in and make something that's yours. That's great. And like, you don't need to be, a PhD to like succeed in this business, but also I have also found it quite humbling that like, you think and you get a little farther in the industry and realize that like, nothing. And that it's such a complex process of like what makes whiskey good. And, being a blender or a distiller today and having that passion, I think it's like, means the relentless pursuit of perfection, even though you're never going to get there because such a thing is not possible. Yeah. So that's it. If you're willing, I guess, to like live in that liminal space, like you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. Oh shit, my camera. Did we lose?
Yeah, it's doing it again. Bollocks. Yeah.
But that was a good end of question 3. Can I'm sorry, and I'm sorry to keep asking you to log back. Okay, so Question 4, drink 4. What are we drinking?
We are drinking what is, I mean, I guess like always, your latest thing is your most just favorite thing, but really the whiskey of mine that I crush the most at home, which is the collaboration with Leopold Brothers.
Yes.
And in fact, I crush it so much that I went to get my bottle for this and realized like it was like 97% empty.
Oh.
So I had to go down into my collection and get a fresh one. So I was like, I don't think I should go on this YouTube with like a mostly empty bottle.
This is just we drank this the night that I met you in Brooklyn, and this was I think we went through a shit ton of that, if that is like a technical drinking term, but yeah.
It is. I'm familiar. Yeah, I'm familiar with that volumetric measurement.
It's so
I also
yummy.
I also crush this whiskey at home. It's like it's so rare as a producer that you get a chance to make something that just hits like all of your buttons, you know? Like I love the liquid. It's genuinely unique, you know? There's no whiskey like this, but also it's not weird, you know? It's not weird for it being weird. It's like immediately recognizable as a beautiful rye whiskey. Like you don't need a 45-minute explanation to appreciate the complexity and the layers and the wow, like I've never smelled like rose petal in a whiskey. I've never this lavender oh, there's so much stone fruit, you know, like you don't need anyone, but then everything that you learn about this, like every piece of it just I think further serves to make me feel better and better and better. Like, you know, I work for Diageo. Like Dickel is a pretty small brand, but like I work for the biggest spirits company in the world. And I don't know that any major, you know, conglomerate has ever genuinely collaborated with a small independent distillery like this, you know, in modern history that I'm aware of. Like it feels good. We really, you know, we're truly collaborating with them. They're genuinely benefiting from this in a way that feels really good to me. And I think it really shows, it lets them do what they do best. You know, Todd is such an incredible distiller, and making this like big, massive, funky, distinct, like 3-chamber rye, you know, doing the decade plus labor of love to like resurrect this style, you know, and then we get to, you know, that's him at his best. And then we get to come in and show it, I think, at its best, which, you know, he and I would both, I think, freely admit we would rather drink this blend than either of our components on their own. Like, it shows it at its best. It's meant to be a tool for blending. That's what it was created for, you know, in the 1800s, and that's what is the most appropriate to use it for now. So the liquid shows off at its best, and then because I work for this big company, you know, I can pay them fairly and help them access the market, and you know, it's good for everybody. It feels really, really good.
There's an Irish saying that's, you know, rising tide raises all ships, and like that's everybody wins. I love when that kind of comes together. I
believe that. I believe that it feels good to me, and you know, I think a lot about like how to help make sure that the craft spirits industry survives and that our whole industry thrives. You know, I think collaborations like this, I think, will be really important.
Agreed. I mean, all right. Well, this leads, I mean, perfectly into question 4, because again, you guys have done a few collabs before. I think, you know, one of them was your very first project that you were in here when you came on to Dickel. But again, you know, like you said, the latest is your favorite, and I gotta say, this is really fucking good. And again, not looking for any industry secrets or anything along that lines, but do you have a collab that you'd want to do in the future, or somebody that you're really dying to collaborate with?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we've only scratched the surface of what Todd and Leopold Brothers are capable, you know, of producing. So I think there's a lot more exciting things there. You know, of course, we just bought Balcones, and I love them. Like their liquids, I think, are incredible. So, you know, I would love to. I work with them. You know, I'm starting to work with them more. Like, I think that would be amazing. Also, this is just to, you know, put something out into the world that I want to be. I have no vision for how I could make this happen. but I have a deep, deep love of some of those, European apple distillates, like the Pero de Vise and the, apple brandies and things. Like,
Oh yeah.
man, some of them are real good. So if anybody is doing something cool and distilling some like really rad pears somewhere, like I would love to hear more about that. Yeah, and then I think there's going to be something interesting, hopefully, like collaborations more maybe amongst like multiple, like maybe it's not just like me and Leopold brothers, but
Yep.
maybe we start to like circle a little bit wider. I think the structure works. Like as you said, it's genuinely good for everybody. So slide into my DMs
There,
if you want.
well, I mean, there you go. Then too, like, is there anybody like? I mean, you said working for Diageo, like you have access to. You're the largest liquor brand in the world. Like you have like quite the access to a lot of people, and so I think that. I mean, yes. Once we put it out in the universe, it has to happen. So therefore, there we go. And I think a brandy aperitif would be fucking amazing. So like that, like.
Right?
Yeah.
With like whiskey. I mean, there's got to be something fun that we could do there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and again, this is just fucking yummy.
Yeah.
This is so good.
Every time I go to drink again, I'm just like, oh fuck. So
Yeah. It's so good.
I can't keep it off my face. And like, to be mindful of like, oh damn
Yeah.
it. Like you should, when you're out in public, you gotta ride the line of like, being like, oh damn, I'm good.
Yeah,
You just don't want to be putting that face on.
like, yeah. I fucking killed it. Yeah. Well, it's true though. I mean, I don't think again that night in Brooklyn, like I don't think anybody disagreed with you because I mean, once we got past the cocktails and we're going into neat pours, I mean that was a good night. So like that was real fun. So and this is just absolutely amazing. You're right because again, you never get like those
tacos, like and I mean, I've never seen anything like that in American whiskey. Like, I think what's exciting to me is like you barely even notice them in the three chamber on its own because it's so loud, like the grain and those aromatics. But then as a component in the blend under that little bit of dilution, like now you can see those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the complexity of that whiskey is more evident, I think, in this format than on its own.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, this is just again fucking glorious.
Truly.
Good job, you.
And Todd.
Yeah, and Todd, yes. Sorry, but yeah, we'll get Todd on here and then
you should.
We could cheers him. Yes.
You should.
But yeah, that is damn fucking good. And that's question 4. All right. So question 5, drink 5. What are we drinking?
So you are drinking our collaboration with Social Hour, which is an incredible canned cocktail company that was founded by Tom Macy, who was the GM of Clover Club for a long time. Just some real cocktail legends. Working on that. Obviously, he works with Julie Reiner, like people who absolutely know how to craft a cocktail. So it's the Harvest Whiskey Sour. So it's a seasonal release from Social Hour. So it comes out every autumn, and we're working on it again for this coming autumn. It's a proper whiskey sour, which I have never tasted in a can, right? Like making that citrus character like actually taste good in a can format. Tom is truly a wizard. He's so good at this. And I think what makes a huge difference, I love the idea of canned cocktails, right? Like as someone who now lives like away from the cocktail mecca of New York. Like I miss having really, really good drinks. And, I can make simple ones at home, but infused syrups, there's like cardamom in there and clove. I'm not going to take the time to do that. Let's be real. So I love this idea, but none of them were good. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. Like RTDs is so great. But none of them tasted to me the way I remember like a good cocktail tasting. So Tom, I think, he brings that in spades. So to me, like, this just does an incredible job of tasting like at the quality and level that you would expect at a place like Clover Club in a can. Like
Nice.
and I think it makes, I mean, obviously the quality of the ingredients makes a huge difference. Like Tom is a wizard. I think what also makes a really big difference is the base whiskey in that is the 13-year-old bottled and bond, right?
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
Love
Because
that.
I'm right and I put it in the can.
There you go.
Because good ingredients make good drinks. And mama needs a cocktail.
Mama needs that.
You know?
Absolutely. Oh, this
You
is
can
good.
go buy a canned cocktail made with 13-year-old bottled and bond whiskey.
I mean,
It's pretty legit, right?
yeah. And again, not even 13-year-old bottled and bond. It's best whiskey in the world. Like,
Yes, in 2019, yes.
yes, yeah, well, but still, it still holds the title.
Thank you. I think
Again,
so. Yeah, number one whiskey in the world. And yes, I put it in a canned cocktail.
That damn straight.
So good that when I saw it in my fridge last night,
You had to have it.
Myself. It was like, oh, I forgot I had one of these. Like, yum.
Well, see, everything happens for a reason. Our technical difficulties just made it so you can have a canned cocktail. So
I know I was thoughtful enough to put it in my fridge at the beginning of this week so that I would have it for this, but then not thoughtful enough to remember that was why I had done that.
Such a life. I mean, look, it was a Monday. It's obvious you deserved it. So, I mean.
Right? I was like, it's the end of I've been through Monday. Like, oh, thanks, past Nicole, for putting this in the fridge.
You're welcome, future Nicole. You don't need this.
Cocktail proof, right? Like that's 20%. Like it's I think which also helps it give it the body and the structure. That's a mistake of so many in the US, at least of these like spirit space, but they're like 5%. Right. It's never gonna taste right, No,
this is good sipping. Like this, you can't go wrong with this. Like this is just so nice. Like
a really, really nice whiskey sour.
Yeah. It's really nice. Like it just
like I can't say enough good things. Speaking of collaborations, like Tom is just so good at this. I had the idea and I did a little experimenting myself, like, oh, I really want to make like a proper nice canned cocktail. And I realized about 2 minutes into that thought, I have no fucking clue how to make a really nice cocktail, actually. Like that is not my skill set. Never mind making one that is like shelf stable in a can, like, which is just, I was like, maybe I should not try to do this and go find someone that actually does know what they're doing. Then no one better than Tom.
Yep. All right. So question 5, as we wrap up, that's 5 drinks down, 5 questions answered, or almost 5 questions answered. But question 5 comes down to the flip of the Whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want. You do not have the answer. The coin will give us the answer.
Okay.
So you are not allowed, like, you're responsible to answer. I don't want you to get in trouble for anything that is said out of context. So,
okay.
Question 5.
That would be your question.
Yeah. In your past life, we talked a little bit of how you worked for the New York sewer system.
Yes.
So, question 5. Are there gators down there?
Fuck no.
Fuck no. All right. So it's just a myth, kids.
That's actually pretty accurate. Good job, coin.
There's no gators in the sewer system.
No. And I did see rats, but none of them taught me any kind of fighting skills whatsoever.
Damn.
So I know.
Wow, that sounds like you got gypped.
It's so disappointing.
All right, Nicole, that's 5 questions answered, 5 drinks down. Thank you so much for joining us twice for 5 drinks or midnight. So sorry about the technical difficulties, but here's to you, and I hope we can drink it together again, even wherever our paths cross again. So if you're back in New York or Tennessee. But thank you again. Cheers.